Morning, boys. It's like 5:15 in the morning right now. I've been up since 4:20, just like, every single day if you guys have seen me before. And to be honest, today was a rough day. Today was a rough morning, I should say. Last night, I was literally up all night just thinking about making this specific video because I wanted to make it so bad. But at the same time, I didn't want to make it last night because I wanted to wake up early so fucking bad. I couldn't let myself sleep in, and if I would have slept in, it would have ruined my whole fucking day. I would have been so pissed. And last night I was driving around my college campus, and it's Wednesday before Halloween here, and I see all these kids walking around, with Halloween costumes on. Chicks are dressed in fucking literal just spandex everywhere, like just bullshit. Dudes are, wearing these stupid ass fucking costumes on a Wednesday. And, I can't talk shit on that because, 2 years ago that was me, right? 2 years ago, I would have been going out on this same Wednesday at this same college to this same bar, and I wouldn't have given a shit about anything the next day. And now, I slept 5 hours last night, and here I am at 4 in the morning, shooting my ass out of bed. And, there's this like discrepancy between who I used to be and who I am now because when I was in that stage a couple years ago, I still talked about how I wanted all of the things I want now. I talked about how I wanted to be a pro bodybuilder, how I, wanted to be in the best shape of my life, how I wanted to be successful, I wanted to be rich, I wanted to be all of these things, and I always talked about that. But, I would fall into this loop over and over and over again of going out all the time, of sleeping in, when the fucking alarm goes off, and your bed is so warm, like just so warm, and the room outside you can feel how cold it is. No part of you wants to go into that room, no part of you wants to get up because it doesn't feel like there's a big enough reason behind why you should get up. And every morning for me is no different. Yeah, I wake up at that time every day, but there's no different feeling now. I don't wake up now and be like, oh, like, it feels really fucking good, I'm really excited to, shoot my ass out of bed at 4:20. No, it sucks, dude. Last night I was up till 11:30, I don't even have to lift today. I'm literally I woke up to make this video, and, I don't have to do anything this morning. I could do my work later in the day and be completely fine. So there was no reason at all for me to wake up and, neglect my sleep just to be out of bed, except for this, like, looming fear that I'm not gonna be successful. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. I have this great desire to be successful. I wake up every single day, and the only thing on my mind is success. And with that being said, this video is to talk about how to stay motivated all the time, but the truth is, when you wake up, you're not just gonna feel motivated. You're not just gonna magically wake up and feel motivated. That's just not the case. And I wake up every single day second guessing whether or not I should get out of bed. Second guessing whether or not this should be the day that I decide to slack off and call it quits and try again tomorrow. Every single day I go through that same feeling. So, what separates that feeling from me still getting out of bed? Why do I still get out of bed every single time? And it's because I understand who I am. I have this tattoo on my wrist. You probably can't see because the lighting is washed in this car, but it says I am. It says the two words I am. And growing up, I struggled really with, I don't know, who I was as a person because, I would say all of these things about who I wanted to be. I would say I wanted to be successful. I would say I wanted to be jacked, like I said, but, my actions didn't support that. And because of that, I fell into deep depression, and I couldn't find happiness, and I didn't know, who I wanted to be. And now the motivation comes from all of this, everything on this tattoo. The motivation comes from me telling myself I am. And I know that sounds like such a stupid little concept, but, the tattoo means that I am everything that I say I am. And, when I say that I am those things, if my actions do not support them, I feel like a genuine piece of shit. I feel so fucking terrible about myself to the point where it just drives me fucking insane. It drives me so crazy. And, a lot of people will say, like, I can't stay motivated, whatever. And the truth is that motivation is one of those things that's, like, manufactured, right? Motivation doesn't just come naturally. I don't just wake up and feel motivated. I wake up and feel motivated because I'm chasing something so much bigger than myself. I wake up and feel motivated because I'm chasing an actual purpose instead of chasing temporary pleasure. Like I said, sure, it would have been a great time to go out to the bars last night with all my friends. Everyone was going out. Like, they're all going to be sleeping until noon. They had, probably a really fun night last night. And, it sounds like I'm a fucking party pooper. It sounds like, I don't have fun and I don't go out. But the truth is, I wake up every single day so fucking tired. And all that I can think about is how lucky am I that I get to wake up and play this game again? How lucky am I that I get to show up for myself today when not many people can say that? How lucky am I that my greatest struggle is getting out of bed, getting out of my warm bed, getting into my cold room, eating my meal, and going to the gym? That is literally the hardest thing that I have to do in the morning, is get my ass out of bed. Some people can't fucking get out of bed. Some people don't have a gym that they can drive to. Some people don't have a car that they can drive to the gym in. I have all of these incredible things, everything in my life. I have all of these incredible things. And I think about how much of a fucking asshole I would be if I was to waste those things. To give you guys some backstory, at the start of this year, I genuinely was in the worst position of my life, especially financially. I was $5,000 in debt. I didn't think I was going to be able to pay my rent. This is January, keep in mind. I genuinely did not think I was going to be able to pay my fucking rent. And I remember the amount of pressure on me every single day. I remember crying to God every single day, just asking for a single fucking win. A single win. Because I genuinely did not think I could pay my rent. I remember I was so scared. I've never been this scared in my life. The rent date was creeping up. My bank account was, slowly increasing because I was working 50 hours a week and waking up at 2 a.m. to go to work and just working overtime every single week. And all I could think about was this impeding fear, that I wasn't going to make it. And, people would think that that's crazy. People would think that it's insane that, I decided to do that. I decided to put myself that much in debt. But it's solely because that is when my mindset truly changed. It's solely because I was willing to bet on myself so much to the point where I knew that I couldn't fail. I knew that I couldn't fail. Everyone called me crazy at every point in my life. When I first said I was going to bodybuild, I was 120 pounds and everyone said, you're a fucking idiot. Like, why would you do that? When I first said, hey, I'm going to make this coaching thing work, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to inspire people on social media, all I did was get made fun of. All I did was get made fun of. And the truth is, that still happens to this day. People are still going to talk shit on everything that I post, and people are going to make fun of everything that I do. But with that being said, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter what anyone says, because all of that comes from below. All of that comes from people who, don't have the ability to take the actions you're taking. And, that's why people hate in the first place, is because, they really, really, really despise the fact that you're chasing something great and they feel like they cannot chase that great thing. And like I said, I was so far in debt that it was to the point where that's when I started waking up so early, because I had to for work. But, I had this just impeding sense of, holy fuck, nobody's coming to fucking save me. Oh my God, nobody's coming to save me. Nobody can get me out of this. I couldn't fall back on my parents to pay that debt. I couldn't ask my friends because I would just feel shameful. I couldn't do anything other than work my fucking ass off because I put myself there, so I need to get out of it. And that is the feeling that I hold on to every single morning to stay motivated. I'm in a great spot as a college student. I have tens of thousands of dollars saved up. I'm in really good shape. I have this nice car that I bought a few months ago. It's an Alfa Romeo. I literally did not have a car until a couple months back. And like I said, I was so far in debt at the start of this year. And I have all of these things to the point where anyone who had just been handed these things, they would fail, right? Anyone who was just woke up and they were in great shape. Anyone who, woke up and they were given a nice car. They were given tens of thousands of dollars. They would fucking fail. You want to know why they would fail? Because they are not the man deserving of those things. I showed up every single day to get where I am today. I showed up every single fucking day. There were nights where I cried myself to sleep. There were nights where I asked God, why? Why was I in this situation? Why can't I just have a single fucking win? God, please. Why can't you just give me one win? Every single day I went through those struggles, and I still go through those same feelings and same struggles every single day, but that is what builds me. Because right now, I told you I have all of these great desires. I'm going to be a millionaire when I'm 25, and I can confidently say that. I'm going to be a natural pro bodybuilder when I'm 22, and I can say that. And somebody can look back at this video in a few years and see that I've achieved all of those things because I have so much self-belief I'm going to. But the truth is, none of those things are going to come naturally. None of those things are going to be handed to me. All of those things will only truly happen and stick around if I become the man deserving of that. There's this version of me, 5 years from now, who's driving a Lamborghini, who's living wherever the fuck he wants to live, who's taking care of his family, who can retire his parents, who can do all of this shit. There's that version of me, and I am not him yet. I'm not him. I'm not. If I was him, I would already have all of those things. I am not deserving yet of that $1 million. I am not deserving yet of that natural pro card. I am not deserving of any of those things, and that's why I don't have them. And that is why I wake up every single day with this fucking fire under my ass the second I get out of bed. That is how I force myself to be motivated every single day, is realizing that the only way I'm going to achieve everything I want to achieve is by showing up as that person every single day. That Brandon who's, let's say a millionaire, who's 25, he's a millionaire, he's not fucking sleeping in. He's not sleeping in because he made money. He's waking up every single day with the same fire under his ass because he wants to keep going. And, I always told myself whenever I got comfortable, I would dial back. I'd be fine. I wouldn't care. But the truth is, that's not what makes me happy. Like I said, I'd really struggled my whole life with just depression, all these bottled up feelings. I put myself in so many stressful situations. There were times where, I wasn't living at my house. I was moving from home to home, living with my aunts and uncles for a few months at a time. I went through all this shit. I got dragged through the mud so many fucking times to the point where, I knew that I was worth something more. I knew that I was so much greater than all of those struggles. And that's why I showed up every single day, because I realized, nobody else is going to retire my parents. Nobody else is going to give me all of these materialistic things. Not that they even fucking matter, but, nobody else is going to put in the work to get me that natural pro card. Nobody else is going to do any of these things, and it's all on me. But that's the beauty in it, right? Because, for example, when I bought this car, I thought it would be the happiest day of my life. Kid growing up with never having more than $1,000 to his name, always wanted a fucking car. And I bought something nice for my first car, and, everyone around me gave me props. They're like, wow, dude, you really made it. I didn't make it, but they're like, wow, dude, you really made it. Wow, dude, my bodybuilding show, everyone's like, wow, dude, I can't believe how far you've come, all this. But none of that shit makes you happy, and none of that shit has ever made me happy. Buying this car didn't feel any different because I was already the man deserving of that car. And that's where the motivation comes. That's where it comes in. Understanding that the greatest singular blessing in life is that you woke up today, and not everyone else can say that. You woke up today and you get this privilege, this blessing to chase this dream of yours, whatever that dream may be. I don't care what it is. You have this insane blessing to, be able to go to the gym, be able to eat healthy, and be able to get in the best shape of your life and look better than you ever have. And if that's not enough for you, then I don't know what is. Because you have been blessed beyond belief to just wake up today. Just wake up. Literally just to get out of bed, to have the ability to get out of bed is one of the greatest blessings you could possibly be given. You were given the ability to chase whatever the fuck you want to chase today. And that's what I remind myself every single day. I woke up today and, I felt like shit and I was on such little sleep, and all I can think about is, holy shit, Brandon, you woke up today. How blessed are we? How blessed am I that I woke up today and I'm able to chase this better version of myself? And that's why I'm sitting in this fucking car talking at 5 a.m. for no apparent reason other than the fact that this is one of the things that I need to do to help other people like I want to do with my life, and to show other people the light, and to show myself that I'm willing to show up every single day, was to film this video, because I told myself I'd do it last night, so I'm going to do it now. That's all it comes down to. Understanding the amount of blessings that are present in your life, because you'll never be handed shit if you're not already grateful. When you have that gratitude for where you are in life, when you have that, thankfulness for where you are in life, you are gifted more things because you are showing up every single day. There's this old saying, and it's corny as shit, and, I'm not going to harp too much on it, but it's, the person who likes walking is going to walk farther than the person who likes the destination. And I never understood that. I always thought, no, that's a cool quote. I think I saw Sam Sulek say that. oh, I really love, the walk, but the truth is, I do. The truth is, I wake up every single day, and the greatest feeling that I'll ever encounter is that first line of the Bible I read every morning, that first sip of coffee I take, that first walk downstairs every single morning, because all I can force myself to think about is that I am so fucking blessed. You watching this, you're probably watching this on a $1,000 phone. You're probably watching this on a nice computer, on a TV maybe. You might not even made it this far, but if you did, you now understand how blessed your life is. And that's why I feel like it's genuinely been this purpose that's been instilled in me to inspire others, to coach others, to literally just change people's lives working with them. And, that's why I put so much passion into my one-to-one fitness clients. That's why you guys who follow my Instagram see the results you do, because, I wake up every single day, and like I said, I have all of these feelings. And it's like my cup has overflown. It's like my cup is overflown with this motivation and this drive and these abilities and this thing that I want to chase. And that cup overflows into every single person I work with. And that is the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. Seeing people's lives change right in front of my eyes in this 3-6 month time frame while I'm working with them. It's just the most, blessed thing ever. And, if you would have told me 2 years ago that my career would be coaching others, and I wouldn't have gone out in 6 months, and I would have quit weed, and I would have quit vaping, and I would have found God, like, I would have said that you were crazy. But the truth is, it's all because I realized one thing, and that one thing is that my struggles aren't really struggles. Like I said, I was thousands of dollars in debt. I went through all these family struggles. I'd got broken up with. I cried myself to sleep over a girl every single fucking night. But the truth is, none of those things really matter. What matters the most is that I wake up every single day and I have the ability to chase that best version of myself. And you see me smiling right now because genuinely, there's so much to love in this life. There's so much happiness to love in this fucking life. So my best advice to you is don't take it for granted, because your life is worth living. Your life is worth living. You have a purpose. There's something in the back of your mind that you want to chase. There's a way you want to look. There's a way you want to feel. There's a job you want to have. There's a business you want to start. There's an amount of money you want to make. Please, for your own sake, so that you are not lying on your deathbed thinking, why didn't I? Start taking action to become that person, because I promise you it'll fucking change your life, just like it changed mine, and just like you're going to get to watch it change mine over these next few years. I love you guys. I appreciate you all tuning in. If you do want to work with me, there's going to be that link in my bio, or I don't know if there's going to be spots on the Calendly because I'm kind of full for the month, but depends when you're watching this. There might be spots on the Calendly if you guys want to book, but genuinely, this is one of the most important videos I've ever made. I fucking love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. I'm going to bring these talks back, so I'll see ya.